I should be looking somewhere.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it, and then I'll show you in the future if it continues.
Yeah, great.
So, okay, I think it's just starting now. Let's see.
Yeah, I have a meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Okay, that's good. And now I'm just going to make it small so that I can just see the if anybody writes anything. Hmm. I do that. Okay, I'll have to just go and check it every now and again.
Okay.
Because somehow I'm unable to do. Okay.
So we're here exploring the Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. It's really old, and this is certainly not meant to be any kind of a scholarly exploration. It's really, I just wanted to kind of um, take these, I think it's 10 chapters, and explore them with you, largely to have you reflect on them. And of course, I'll be reflecting a bit too, but I primarily want to listen and learn. And just as a way of background and sort of level setting here, the first 3 chapters, and I got this from reading the introduction, so it's not it's not like I'm in my 10th year of trying to digest this stuff. The first 3 chapters are designed to stimulate the dawning of bodhicitta for the reader, whoever is trying to, embrace what Shantideva has to offer here.
And what does bodhicitta mean?
So chitta is means either mind or thought or attitude. And in the way you and I have been speaking, I'd like to sort of lean towards the third definition of attitude. So that's chitta, and then bodhi just means enlightenment or awakening. So if you put them together, you get the attitude or mind of enlightenment or attitude of awakening.
Yeah, so kind of like the Buddha mind, or looking at the world through the eyes of God.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And what I've been thinking about it is, in a way, what we're trying to do is take this sense of me, which for the ordinary person might just extend just like to the ends of your fingertips, right? So the me is I'm this mind body, but the idea is to take that sense of me and just expand it infinitely to where everything is me.
Yeah, or just get rid of it altogether.
Yes. So I'm good with that. And what we're doing is, or what Shantideva does is, this again is according to the introduction, is he sort of divides the book into sections, or scholars who've read it have, and they're talking about the bodhisattva or bodhicitta as something that first starts with a desire for it or an intention, like thinking about a trip and then actually taking the trip. So that first the desire, then the engagement.
Yeah.
So I that's the half page of notes I took. I know I didn't want to make you mad by having a lot of notes and preparation done. So
have you ever seen me being mad?
no, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to do so much preparation that it felt like we were having a scripted conversation, which clearly we're not.
Yeah. And I think it's good that you said, like, this is not a scholarly kind of thing, like a discussion, because I also feel like I think all of these texts, of course, you can spend lots of time studying them and all, and I'm sure it's good. But I think if the average person can't just pick it up and read it and make sense of it, then, I mean, I wouldn't revere a text like that or think it's any good. Because I think these teachings have to be like so simple, like the simplest. And I think They are really. Like I haven't read it yet, but I feel like it probably is, or else it probably wouldn't be revered is the word that's coming.
Yeah, I would say if you want a little more context, a little background, and you're
Hmm.
intending to follow along or pick it up from the beginning, just
Hmm.
start with the introduction and
Yeah.
hear what they're saying there. I have my copy electronically,
Hmm.
and when I come to a footnote, I can just touch the little footnote and have it pop up, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But there will be sections where we may want to diverge into the background notes just to get a deeper understanding of what it is we're reading.
Yeah.
We can just kind of play that as it comes.
Yeah. So, did you think we should just start reading it like after the introduction? Like
Yeah,
read the actual text?
yeah,
Okay. Hmm. So, shall I read a few verses and then you read a few verses, kind
yeah,
of thing?
and just
See what happens.
a little bit more context or sort of rule setting for the meeting, if you will, is that I don't know if you have more than an hour, but I'm thinking maybe we call it at an hour regardless of how far we get. So we
Yeah.
may not get through chapter one today, and that's just how it is.
Yeah. I think it's good. We just stick to an hour from
Okay.
10 o'clock, an hour
Yeah.
from 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, the excellence of Bodhichitta. Homage to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. To those who go in bliss, the Dharmakaya, they possess and all their heirs. To all those worthy of respect, I reverently bow. According to the scriptures, I shall now, in brief, describe the practice of the Bodhisattva discipline. So, I know, like, there's not much to say about that, but I just wanted to say, that's why I have Arunachala in the background, because, in even in the lineage of my teachers, we were speaking about Ananda first, but then there's like Muji and Papaji and Ramana, and Ramana's teacher is Arunachala. And I just spent time there, and it is very powerful. And I do have a lot of respect for this mountain. And like my son keeps saying, because he read it in a book when we were there, he's like, that mountain is not a mountain. So Arunachala is not really a mountain. Like, "Eh?"
Yeah, I'm so glad you got to go there. I think sooner or later I have to find my way there.
Yeah. Here I shall say nothing that has not been said before, and in the art of prosody I have no skill. I therefore have no thought that this might be of benefit to others. I wrote it only to habituate my mind. My faith will thus be strengthened for a little while, that I might grow accustomed to this virtuous way. But others who now chance upon my words may profit also, equal to myself in fortune. So hard to find the ease and wealth whereby the aims of beings may be gained. If now I fail to turn it to my profit, how could such a chance be mine again? Just as, yes, want to say something?
The um, the chance he's speaking to, according to the footnote, is a human birth,
Mm,
and the implication is how rare that
mm,
I wasn't born as a toad or a bird or a wildebeest.
yeah,
That I'm human, so I
mm,
have this lifetime,
yeah,
and that the potential risk is that it gets wasted, and
mm.
that would be really sad. So
I
that
think that's really good, and I've heard that in spirituality a lot, but I kind of feel like it's one step too far. And the reason why is because I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about other lives. I don't know how it is to be a toad or an ant or a dog or anything. But it's the same to just say, like, I'm grateful to be alive now. And like, now is my chance. Like, now is the chance to recognize what's beyond everything. So I feel like that's just more direct. Although these people who said those things, maybe they had insights about what it's like to be an animal or something. But I feel like most of us don't. And that's the reason I'm saying it, because I feel like I'm a very like average being.
Hmm.
I'm pretty much like probably most of us are. I don't have any like psychic abilities or like insights into how it is to be a toad and things like that. But you don't need any of that because, in a way, it sounds nice when you read it, but you still have to go to your mind for that. But what we don't have to go to our mind for is that we're just here right now. And right now, we have an opportunity to really to not buy into all the stories of the mind and to just see what's here without the mind, regardless of the mind.
As you started speaking, I heard a little sound that suggested that we had a comment or maybe a viewer.
No,
Okay.
not a single being.
Okay.
I'll check every now and again. Just as on a dark night, black with clouds, the sudden lightning glares and all is clearly shown. Likewise, rarely, through the Buddha's power, virtuous thoughts rise, brief and transient in the world. Virtue thus is weak, and always. Evil is of great and overwhelming strength, except for perfect bodhicitta. What other virtue is there that can lay it low? For many eons, deeply pondering, the mighty sages saw its benefits, whereby unnumbered multitudes are brought with ease to supreme joy. Those who wish to crush the many sorrows of existence, who wish to quell the pain of living beings, who wish to have experience of a myriad joys, should never turn away from bodhicitta. I feel like bodhicitta also is just kind of like, I guess words that I use sometimes, it's kind of like your heart mind. Or it's really just your heart, you don't have to use the word mind at all. But then people get so confused, like, well, how can you be in the world without your mind? And in a way, you do kind of like the whole world is mind. Is or some people say the whole world is mind, or the whole world is consciousness, or the whole world is God. So there are different ways. But our usual way of being in the world is just mind without heart. It's just like you're just buying anything that comes into your mind and believing yourself to be something you're not. But bodhicitta, I feel, is like heart mind. So when your um, awareness or consciousness or you just that like light comes alive inside you, what you truly are, like that you're beyond the mind and you're not what you thought you were. You're not the body mind story. So that's then you see that you can use the word heart. Your heart or your being is heart. But yeah, you're still able to act in the world and maybe you see things through your heart. But yeah, everything is still mind in a way. So I like to use like heart mind. So it's not the same kind of mind as before. It's like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know if tinged is the right word. It's more than tinged, but you can say it's colored. Yeah, it's colored by God then, or like filtered. It's filtered through the eyes of love or God.
I caught on to the phrase you spoke just back then. There's a light that comes alive inside you. How beautiful is that?
Mm, yeah. And I feel like that light's there always in everyone, like as a potential or something. Or maybe it's definitely there because we're all that. But if you can make a little visual, like maybe just sometimes it's just like a little spark. But like, yeah, if the light comes alive inside you, it's kind of comes bigger. Like what you said. You said like just the desire to know or the desire to have or to know bodhicitta. Even that, like that's the light coming alive, you know. I might read this bit, this verse again. Those who wish to crush the many sorrows of existence, who wish to quell the pain of living beings, who wish to have experience of a myriad joys, should never turn away from bodhicitta. Should bodhicitta come to birth in those who suffer, chained in prisons of samsara, In that instant, they are called the children of the blissful one, revered by all the world, by gods and humankind. For like the supreme substance of the alchemists, it takes our impure flesh and makes of it the body of a Buddha, jewel beyond all price. Such is bodhicitta. Let us grasp it firmly. Since the boundless wisdom of the only guide of beings perfectly examined and perceived its priceless worth, those who wish to leave this state of wandering should hold well to this precious bodhicitta. Yeah, and even that, like, even wanting it, I feel is like a very blessed state. Even if you feel like you don't have it and you want to know it, and you just feel like, that's kind of, if you had a little fire inside you, that like wanting it is like fueling the fire, and it's enabling the way for it to take birth or it to light up inside you. So even if you feel like you don't know what bodhicitta is, and you feel like, like maybe it's not even true, but you're just exploring, whatever way the energy is there. But like even that is like totally blessed. It's like a million times better than just kind of being totally asleep.
Mm. Yeah, this again, according to the introduction, and what he's saying in these early verses is very much, if you get a glimpse of this, it's a very fortunate situation. So don't overlook it.
Yeah. And that's like, I think Moody says, and maybe many people say, that's kind of like God calling you home.
Mm.
Like we think that it's like, oh yeah, like I want this, like I want to discover God, or I want to discover that I'm not separate, or I want to discover bodhicitta. But really, like where does everything come from? Everything that arises inside us is not coming from a personal me. Like we don't have a little thought factory inside us. Like it's like everything is kind of given to us. So that's like totally blessed. It's like God wants us to come home. It's like it's an opportunity.
Mm.
Yeah. And I feel like it's available for everyone. It's available for everyone, like on the earth, because it's here on the earth, you know. So therefore it's available for everyone. Mhm. Would you like to read it?
So I'll come with verse 12 here. All other virtues, like the plantain tree, produce their fruit, but then their force is spent. Alone, the marvelous tree of bodhicitta constantly bears fruit and grows unceasingly. As though they pass through perils guarded by a hero, even those weighed down with dreadful wickedness will instantly be freed through having bodhicitta. Why do those who fear their sins not have recourse to it? Just as by the fire that will destroy the world, great sins are surely and at once consumed by it. Its benefits are thus unbounded, as the wise and loving Lord explained to Siddhana. I think I'm just touching so the reference to the wise and loving Lord is to
Mm-hmm.
Maitreya, the Buddha of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on, bodhicitta, the awakened mind, is known in brief to have two aspects. First, aspiring bodhicitta in intention, then active bodhicitta, practical engagement.
Mm.
So this is sort of underlining um, what we were saying earlier on the two phases.
So bodhicitta in intention
Hmm.
is, yeah, like just really wanting to. I'm just kind of interpreting it through my own filters and my own journey and my own way of looking at life, because
That's why.
I haven't been going through Buddhist things.
No, this is why we're here.
Yeah. And also I love to, like, if you can make things even more simple, like the simpler you can make it. And sometimes spiritual words and all, they can just be confusing, I think, sometimes. Yeah. So yeah, Buddha's bodhicitta in intention is just, yeah, like maybe like wanting to be less selfish and having the intention to live for God and to discover yourself as truth.
Hmm.
And I think anyone who's on a kind of a spiritual path, like we've all heard that, we're all one. So bodhicitta in intention is, I suppose our intention is to really discover that, not to just read it in a book and to believe it, but to actually really know it through direct experience. And maybe in a way, even when you really discover that, somehow the intention part in a way like kind of stays alive, because there's always the potential, there's the potential that, I don't know if there really is the potential or not, but there's the seeming potential that you could start to believe the mind, or you can at least understand that potential. So somehow that like fuel to continue to want to live for God and to live from God, like somehow remains. And it's like the will. It's kind of like the same as like the will of God. Like, what does God will for you? He doesn't will that you suffer and believe that you're separate and feel yourself as limited and like you suffer this life. He wills for you that you enjoy every moment and that you feel grateful and that you know how blessed you are, so in a way it can't go away, the intention for bodhicitta, because it's the same as being aware of the will of God, which is your own true will as well.
Mhm. As corresponding to the wish to go and then to setting out, the wise should understand respectively the difference that divides these two. From bodhicitta in intention, great results arise for those still turning in the wheel of life. Yet merit does not rise from it in ceaseless streams, as in the case with active bodhicitta.
Mm.
And I'm thinking there he's talking a little bit about karma, if I can introduce the term without it getting too messy.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's not a good place to maybe it's not a good place to do it. So that either um, someone who is beyond intention into engaged. Okay, so now they're living in bodhicitta. They're
Mm,
either A, only ever creating good karma, or B, never creating karma at all. And I think
mm,
there's a difference, and I'm not trying to go all intellectual and really parse it, but that's what he's referring to. I think is sending out only the good stuff.
mm,
That is coming back as such later,
mm,
and that the difference between someone who's trying to gather the intention is that there may be trickles or
mm,
occasional spurts, whereas someone who's in active bodhicitta, just beyond the intentional
mm.
period, is it's more of a pure free flowing thing. So this is just a picture
Mm.
he's painting.
I think it's the same as what you're saying, but which verse is that?
17.
I think it's the same as what you're saying, but just in a real like empty way, like if you don't know anything about karma or anything, because I don't know anything about karma and all like these things, but just in a real practical way. Like if you're still, let's say, bodhicitta in intention, so that would mean that you're still believing yourself to be separate. You still
Mm,
believing that you're a me, so when you're like acting and all in the world, you're still going to suffer and all a bit still. So you have that intention in your heart, but you're still believing you're a me and you're still acting from a me. So you're still, if you're acting from a me, you're going to feel like the things that happen are happening to me. So you're still going to suffer a bit, even though you have that blessed thing happening inside you, you know, of the intention of bodhicitta. Whereas if you're seeing the world through bodhicitta, it doesn't really matter what happens because nothing is happening to a me because there is no me. So I actually think it's the same thing. So like, you know, you've given it a word karma and all, but like if you don't know anything about karma and all, because in a way, all them things are ideas as well, you know. So I feel like it's good to look at just our direct experience and what we experience and try to leave ideas aside altogether if we can, but maybe that's not possible. I don't know.
Well, that was the clarity I was hoping you'd bring to it, because he is trying
Mm,
to make some kind of a distinction here. So underlining that and
yeah,
commenting on it is good.
yeah,
Shall I go on from 18?
yeah. And I just want to say, as a like anything we say, of course, it's kind of obvious, but sometimes you have to say, like we're just saying things like whatever come through us, and like they're probably filtered through our own experiences and our own perception and our own way of kind of looking at the world. Because you know, sometimes people hear people talking and they think, okay, this is the way it is,
Ah,
and like that's it, that's final. But I don't feel like there is anything like that. Like there's nobody who can say this is the way it is. Because some people speak, you know, with like authority and they're saying it is like this. And there is an authority in it because it's true for them and it's like, you know, and maybe even they're speaking true like bodhicitta viewpoint. But still, it's still kind of filtered through their own conditioning and their own experiences, and every being has their own little different perspectives. So there's no kind of ultimate truth or ultimate way of being. But of course, hearing different people saying things can be helpful. But I just wanted to say that, like, it's not like I wouldn't want anyone to take what we're saying as like ultimate and final. Like, this is how it is.
and
Like that.
as Shantideva is saying himself in one of the earlier verses, I mean, we're just getting started here, but he's saying
Mhm.
these are notes to myself,
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So even this, like, you know, so we pick up these texts and we're kind of like looking for answers. And even, yeah, he said like he's not trying to teach anything, you know, but then we look to it for teachings. And of course we can also find, you know, we're all teaching each other all the time as well. But still that it's not kind of intended that way. We're not meant to be kind of copying each other.
Mhm. Mm.
Mm,
So this is 18. For when with irreversible intent the mind embraces bodhicitta, willing to set free the endless multitudes of beings, in that instant, from that moment on, a great and unremitting stream, a strength of wholesome merit, even during sleep and inattention, rises equal to the vastness of the sky. This is the Tathagata in the Sutra Sabadu requested, said with reasoned argument for those inclined to lesser paths. If with kindly generosity one merely has the wish to soothe the aching heads of other beings, such merit knows no bounds. No need to speak, then, of the wish to drive away the endless pain of each and every living being, bringing them unbounded excellence. Could our father or our mother ever have so generous a wish? Do the very gods, the rishis, even Brahma, harbor such benevolence as this? For in the past they never, even in their dreams, wished something like this even for themselves. How could they do so for another's sake? This aim to bring the benefit of beings, a benefit that others wish not even for themselves, this noble, jewel like state of mind arises, truly wondrous, never seen before.
mm,
So he's very much alluding to something, he's very beautiful. He's talking about a noble, jewel like state of mind and how it's sort of bubbling up all by itself. How beautiful.
mhm,
I missed. Well, I'm missing the footnotes, but I feel like plowing forward seems like the way.
How do you get footnotes? Do you see those little numbers and then there's
Yeah, I
kind of
see.
some notes at the bottom or something?
Yeah, well, I see little numbers. I think for you in the paper book, it would direct you to the back, but I'm able just
Hmm.
to tap my thumb on them and
Oh,
get them to come up. And in some cases, it's a just a little detail on the translation from the Tibetan, but in other times it's adding a little bit of detail. So I'll try to, if I look at one, I'll try to lean towards the detail rather than the intellectual sidetrack of the Tibetan translation, which for us is effectively irrelevant. So this pain dispelling draft, this cause of joy for those who wander through the world, this precious attitude, this jewel of mind, how shall we calculate its merit? If the simple thought to be of help to others exceeds in worth the worship of the Buddhas, what need is there to speak of actual deeds that bring about the weal and benefit of beings? For beings long to free themselves from misery, but misery itself they follow and pursue. They long for joy, but in their ignorance destroy it as they would their foe. So now we're getting on to suffering here, aren't we?
hmm.
But those who fill with bliss all beings destitute of joy, who cut all pain and suffering away from those weighed down with misery, who drive away the darkness of their ignorance, what virtue could be matched with theirs? What friend could be compared to them? What merit is there similar to this?
Yeah, I like that. What friend could be compared to them? I was telling Ananda we were talking about something like this. Like, sometimes people come to satsang and then they leave. They get upset about something. So I kind of brought this up with him and he was saying, I don't feel like it's love if they're coming to me and they're taking themselves to be a person and they're trying to make him agree, you know, and say, okay, I agree that you're a person. And now
Ah,
let's solve your problem or something. He says, no, like it's not. And then they get really upset about that, that he keeps just pointing them back to the truth. But then I kind of was saying, yeah, yeah. And then it's like, that's actually a true friend, like a true friend holds you in your highest light and will like point you to the truth. And I just feel like, yeah, that's so true. And sometimes, like, that comes up here. Like, I feel like just something arises. Sometimes I feel like, where are all my friends? Like, my true friends? I want like people around me who, like value this truth like so much, you know. Then the answer that always comes like almost simultaneously as that arises, it's just like, I have to be that one. And it's like, okay. It's like, and I feel like it's like that for all of us. Like, we can't, maybe we'll be blessed by having people around us who reflect that. But first, we have to be that one, mostly to ourselves, mostly to ourselves. But then if we can be that for ourselves, then maybe we can be that for others as well. Not through trying to be that for others, but just true because that's how we are, because we want to be that for ourselves. So that becomes the way we are. Like, we don't uphold false beliefs, you know.
yeah, that's beautiful. Um, what's coming up is very much what's been coming up basically since retiring is looking back at years of fairly unsatisfying and unfulfilling work,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to sort of get a sense of what was that all about, and
Yeah,
how now to connect with my heart in a way that's a little more nourishing. So
yeah.
being that friend to yourself that you're looking for
Mm,
um, suggests that I don't have to look very far to sort of set things right. It's just the habit of
yeah.
conditioning that's keeping me off balance somehow.
And I also like what Ananta keeps saying as well. He keeps saying like this can only be lived moment to moment. So it's like that, of course we know we can't give it to the past so much, and we're likely to think, okay, I'm going to be like this now for forever onwards. But it can't be like that. It has to be just like now. Am I being that true friend to myself now? Now, only moment to moment. Like that's the only way we can live it. And it's totally obvious. But I think it's good also to be kind of pointed out and to remind us, because I think we can easily get into even believing like, oh yeah, I live like this now. Or like I will live like this. Like, and you could even be planning like, okay, when I meet this person, I'm going to be like this, or if this situation arises within me, I'll respond with this. But like it can't be any of that. It's just like moment to moment. Moment to moment, we have the choice to be our true friend, which means not upholding false stories of ourselves.
I think more reflection is coming from you when I read. Do you want me to continue? Do you want to read some? What's the best way?
I don't know. Who's that? What's that picture in your background there?
Oh, that picture is it was a gift from some friends we bought a desk and a chair from. And they said, you know what, we want to get rid of this picture too. So if you want to take it with the desk, you're welcome to it.
What's in it? I can't really see it, but it's just my attention is gone to it.
A bit closer here. Just a sec. So this to my right is my head. But let's see if we can give you just the photo. There you go. It's basically a scene. There's flowers over kind of an archway, and that's a window in the background.
Oh yeah.
I can get you a nicer photo and send it to you separately.
Oh yeah. I think it's like when you're coming out of the forest of your mind. It looks a bit like this. You're still in the kind of dark, but you can see the light at the end, like, and it's like, oh yeah, it's just there. Like it's like I feel like it kind of can feel like that, so you have that bodhicitta intention, and like you can see it and it's true, and you can even feel it in your heart, but yet you can still feel all the sufferings of your mind kind of still a bit, but then like yeah, you just don't give up and you'll be out that window.
So we found the archetypical illustration for today's discussion. That's beautiful. I'll get a close-up photo of that and send it to you.
Okay, well, I read a bit. What verse are you on?
I think we're at 31.
If someone who returns a favor is deserving of some praise, why need we speak of bodhisattvas, those who do good even unsolicited? People praise as virtuous donors, those who with contempt support, a few with plain and ordinary food, a moment's gift that feeds for only half a day. What need is there to speak of those who long bestow on countless multitudes the peerless joy of blissful Buddhahood, the ultimate fulfillment of their hopes? All those who harbour evil in their minds against such lords of generosity, the Buddha's heirs, will stay in hell, the mighty sage has said, for ages equal to the moments of their malice. But joyous and devoted thoughts will yield abundant fruits in greater strength. Even in great trouble, bodhisattvas never bring forth wrong. Their virtues naturally increase. To them in whom this precious jewel of mind is born, to them I bow. I go for refuge to those springs of happiness who bring their very enemies to perfect bliss. That's pretty beautiful, isn't it? They bring their enemies to perfect bliss.
He's talking about bodhicitta as a means to cultivate compassion
Mm,
and unconditional love. I mean, you know, what's not to like?
yeah.
And then just prior to that, he was saying, well, you know, if someone feeds someone, you know, that person is praised as, you know, a generous person. But, you know, then if you compare that to someone whose intention is to bestow basically unlimited happiness on everyone, that's the
Mhm.
favorable comparison of the bodhisattva, which is a function of this bodhicitta,
Yeah.
enlightened or awakened mind or attitude. Seems worth cultivating.
Yeah.
So what really drew me to want to explore this text with you was a couple of things. You know, one, I obviously would like to get bodhicitta for myself. And my understanding is that a way to do that would be to find someone and help them get it.
Mm,
And then the other thing was just hearing you reflect on these verses. I mean, it's right on point
mm.
to be here talking about them. So,
So how do you not have bodhicitta right now?
um, I suppose at this point I'd have to make a bit of an effort.
So you're just kind of pretending. You're just kind of pretending that you're trying to get bodhicitta when in fact you already are a bodhisattva. You're just pretending for the purpose of having this video or something, is it?
Well, there certainly is an awareness of how easy it is to have the conditioning sort of take over and to be lost in the jungle of, you know, thought,
Mm,
memory, planning, you
mm,
know, thinking, that sort of thing.
mm,
I mean, now it's
mm,
not so present, but
mm,
in this now and every
mm,
other one after, I'd like
mm.
to remain sensitive to that.
Yeah. I think we also need to let go of the idea that can be there, that like conditioning needs to be gone completely
Mm.
in order for us to be like a bodhisattva. Or, a bodhisattva is not going to think of themselves as a bodhisattva anyway. Or, or but to be awake, you know, and that's enough. If you're awake, you know that you're awake. You know that you're not taking yourself to be something that you're not. And that's totally enough, so this whole dream can appear. So all the things in it, all the buildings that you see and nature that you see and everything that you see physically, but then all the other things that you see in other ways, like reactions that you might have to something, or like even all the different kind of conditionings in however it can show up, all the different emotions, like good and bad, all of those things. So we can see all of those things, but just know through not through just an idea, but you just know because you see who you are. So you know that none of that is you, and that's totally enough. Like nothing else is asked. And that can change, like so from person to person, let's say, it can be different. So in some beings, it might seem to be less. The only one who knows is the one who's in the experience. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter. Like if somebody has the most conditioning you can imagine, let's say they had an absolutely terrible, terrible life. They have lots of conditioning. They were like abused and all kinds of terrible things happening. Okay. So they have like a lot of um what would you say, like energetic things happening within their body. But if they, through grace, which it does happen, if they, through grace, were to wake up from that and to somehow see that they're beyond this and they can see and experience also that who they really are is untouched by the whole play and by everything, then like that's enough. All of that doesn't need to leave. It's like being in a dream. Like if you wake up in a dream, and you see, okay, this is a dream, like you don't really need to go around making it right. Like, and I think it's okay. It might still happen in the dream, like it might still happen that someone goes around trying to make things right, which we don't know what right is anyway. But like you might try to, like if you're in a dream where like everything is a mess, let's say you're in a messy room or something, you might go around even after recognizing that you're in a dream, you go around trying to tidy up the room. Even though, well, like there's no point because this room isn't really a real room. It doesn't really exist. So it might seem like that happens because the dream is happening and the nature of the dream is it keeps moving. Usually dreams aren't just still. Any kind of dreams, like a sleeping dream or a waking dream. It's not just that you get a still image with nothing moving. Everything continues to move the whole time. So it might seem like things are getting cleaned up, because that seems to be how consciousness works. But the most important thing is just that we're recognizing that we're not that, and I think we get like caught up in the idea that all of this dream stuff needs to change or get better or be gone or something. Like, I think even after we wake up and recognize, like, so many of us get caught up in that, you know, and I just think that, like, if I had to pick like one point, one point to talk about for the rest of my life or something, I feel like that would be the point that, like, that doesn't matter. Like if someone looks at my life, they would think it matters because I do things that seems seems like it matters. Like I might do something that like maybe enables my energy system to like flow freer or something, and like some conditioning like maybe will dissolve and then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's great now that left me. Like I might say something like that. But I think it's just a more inward thing that like we're recognizing that all of that is just secondary and all of that is a play, no matter how good it seems, because it can seem good, even if you're like experiencing bliss and all, like that's even that is still just a part of the play, so like the whole point of this bodhicitta and bodhisattva thing is like really it's your just recognizing your true nature and the true nature of you or anybody, everyone, is to be a bodhisattva because bodhisattva just means an unselfish way to live, isn't it? So how can you, if you recognize who you are, you recognize that you're not a single individual personal. So how can you live in a selfish personal way? You can't. Although if someone looking from the mind might look upon you and say, no, you did this and you did that and you did this and that. So there'll always be those things because things appear like that in the world. But again, like it doesn't really matter like how it appears. It's just for us to like recognize. Like you just recognize who you are, and if bodhisattva nature flows out of you, then it does. And if it doesn't, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it flows out of you in a different way. Like maybe it's not that you're going to go to, like you said, you go to like the cat shelter or the animal shelter, or you go and like feed the homeless, um or you share satsang and like tell everybody who they are. Or you do some like meditation technique that helps lots of people to be enlightened. Or you do even those things, all of it, everything is like part of the play. It doesn't really matter. Or even if you're just kind of, you just go for a walk every day. Like pretty much that's what Ramana Maharshi did. He just went for a walk every day, sat down in his chair. But like many would say he's a bodhisattva, and he is. Also, but like it's not about what you do, you know, outwardly. It's just
Mm.
more about the inward thing. So I don't know. Just want to say, don't be bothered too much about all the seeming conditioning that we seem to have. Like that's not for us to even be concerned about,
Mm.
isn't it?
I get this incredible sense of quiet and stillness as I'm listening. It's really beautiful.
That's good.
Mm. Well, not all the chapters are this short. Some of them are pretty long, but we did manage to plow through all of chapter one.
Hmm.
There are, I think, 10 chapters here,
Mm.
and they vary in their intensity and profundity and impact. So looking forward to tackling more of them. And we had proposed maybe a once a month schedule. Does that feel right still?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And so we'll confirm the second chapter for the first Saturday in December.
Okay, great. First Saturday of every month.
Yeah. And although we had originally said 9, we moved it to 10 today, and I can make either one work.
Yeah. And we should practice, we being anyone, should practice our bodhicitta. Otherwise, it would just be like reading a book and putting it down again.
So we should practice the mind or attitude of awakening, thinking of
Yeah.
others.
Moment to moment. I don't know. I'm not so much into the thinking of others thing. I think even I did open the introduction here. I didn't read it all, but it also says, but like whatever it says, um, it can only extend to others if we first extend it to ourselves. So I feel like we don't need to be concerned with extending it to others because that happens by itself naturally anyway, without effort, because God doesn't need to make effort for anything. It's only like a personal, individual, seemingly pretend person who tries to make effort to do things that either happen or don't happen. But really, we don't need to be concerned with that. Like those things just arise spontaneously. I think what we should be more concerned about is just inwardly within ourselves that we're awake to who we are, which is bodhicitta or Buddha mind or I beyond me. Anytime we remember. So ideally, moment to moment, every moment, but just any moment that we become conscious enough to do so. And really, it just means just being, So we're just being, you're just being, and like if you're just being, you don't just sit around all day doing that. That would be lovely. I'd actually love to sit around all day doing that, but somehow that doesn't happen. Even if you think you're going to sit around all day doing that, then probably after a while your body will get up, it'll decide to make a cup of tea or go to the toilet, maybe go for a walk, do something. And then maybe it'll be extended or maybe it won't. That's not really for us to know about even. You don't even need to know. Like maybe somebody else will say, you're extending your inner peace or something. You don't need to know about it.
Well, what I do know is that our YouTube recording, once it's in place, will be there
Yeah.
effectively forever.
Yeah.
So if someone is watching or listening out of curiosity or profound intention, whether it's a year or 100 years from now, then hopefully they can get great benefit and go and share that with others.
Yeah. And I always love, if I'm watching like let's say a Netflix show or something like that, and you can or like actually we were watching Kung Fu Panda the other day. So we watched Kung Fu Panda 1, then Kung Fu Panda 2 and Kung Fu Panda 3 all within about a week. It's like, oh, it's so great like when like they're all out already. So there was actually a few years in between all the movies, but like when you don't know about those years and you can just watch them all. So in the same way, like for any type of video. But if anybody watches this video in the year 2022, we're going to meet together at the first Saturday in December for the next one. And it will be live streamed again. If you'd like to take part in any way, you can watch live and make comments, anything like that if you want.
Excelente. That's my Portuguese word for the day. It's excelente.
Excellent. Is it a real word?
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Really happy to see you.
Yes, happy to see you too. Thank you for this gift of sharing our heart.
My pleasure. See you soon.